Hello, hello, and welcome to Let's Do 52. All right, so today I want to introduce you to working in tiles, kind of as a color sheet. And here you'll see overlapping some watercolors. I use Moon Glow. It's my favorite shadow and overlay color. That is by Daniel Smith Watercolors. You want to kind of divide your page. Doesn't matter what size you have, but depending on, what size you're working in. These here, I divide into 2 by 2 squares. You can do 1 by 1. A nice square, shape done up and measured out is a really nice, neat way to go. It allows us to kind of do some color play. Here's Cascade by Daniel Smith. See all those beautiful 3 pigmented colors in there. That's the Moon Glow. When we have these tiles, it allows us to also kind of play a little bit with our colors. I also like to sometimes have some sea salt next to me and some splatters and other things. So here I have my Stabilo All. It's not the All, I'm sorry. This is the graphite pencil. And I like it because it will leave a nice line underneath the watercolor. So it kind of adds a good look. And it's not as dark as the Stabilo All, but it is a little bit water soluble, so it kind of blends in as I'm adding watercolor on top. So we do have a Winter Wonderland theme, so you could change this to some winter. This just gives you a good idea, some fun playtime and sketching. I like to erase a little bit just to kind of lighten some of the things that are dark. Um, and kind of just go through, get a good feel. You can still see everything. I'm just barely touching the paper with the white eraser. And my favorite color palette. And I'm going to swatch out just a few colors right now. And when we swatch out our colors, this is just another moment to kind of play and see what colors we want to work in. So that's opera pink, and I do add some Quin magenta into it because I like the way the two work together. For reference, I am working in a mixed media pad. This is not a watercolor sketchbook, so it is mixed media. My watercolors are not going to bloom and flow like they would on a nice thick watercolor paper. But this is one of those, creative break moments. This is an art snack, if you will, working with our prompt, right? So just taking anything does not always, you don't always have to use your precious papers. Use whatever you have. And if you like working on mixed media or in mixed media a lot, well, you want to get to know your watercolors on the paper that you use a lot or your watercolor paper, right? Like mix it up. Try lots of different papers, try your different paints. You're going to find what you love. So I am using some of my favorite colors. Later on, I do end up kind of making some, adding more colors just because I'm doing this color palette here does not mean that those are the only colors I can use in my artwork. And there you see I add some teal to the blue and kind of just plain. I know what I like together, but this gives you an opportunity, or it sometimes forces me to step outside of what I always love using. Uh, I did say that in this grid, I wanted to use more of that green gold color, which is like that limey. And I do love the green gold with the cascade green. So, kind of swatch out. There's the colors that I used. If you're interested, they are all Daniel Smith watercolors. And I've got my sketches, and I'm just going to start to kind of come in and paint in no special order. You'll see I kind of, as I go through this, I'll keep it slow for a minute and I'm going to speed it up. But as I go through, and paint in my shapes and whatnot, a few things are learned here. Number one, what's going to happen on the mixed media paper versus watercolor paper? How can I force my colors to bloom? You know, working the watercolors to stay lighter, darker, get them to move, layer my colors on top of each other, right? Um, so we've got that going and kind of just playing. Sometimes I don't complete a whole swatch. I'll bounce around from one tile to the next, to another, to another. Um, this was the simple drawing of just three little flowers, and so just working with the colors that I have, right? Just playing to see what works together. If you didn't do all different colors, kind of like I did here, another fun activity or another fun way to approach this technique is with just analogous colors. Now, if you have a color wheel, you want to grab that, and the analogous color scheme is 3 to 5 or even 7 of those colors in a row. Seven's getting a little extreme, but it's just like the different shades. So they'd be all kind of blue purples or all kind of red pink purples or orange and yellow and pink. Okay. Um, but there's, plenty of ways to get to know your colors, and working in tiles, like I said, is one of those kind of steadfast ways to do that. Um, and the other thing is, it's not, these tiles aren't precious. We're just playing. All right. So, like I said, I am going to speed this along and kind of let you just watch the process a little bit. Like I said, I will bounce around, kind of play, um, with whatever it is I decided to draw. So again, just remember these are just fun little tiles that allow us to kind of explore. One of my favorite things to do, you see, I always leave about 3 empty tiles for water play, and there I added just the plain water. And then I'm just kind of dotting in my Cascade green, and then I will sprinkle some kosher salt or whatever salt I have on hand in the studio that day, kind of let it dry. Some other times I'll sprinkle just plain water because that will remove and cause some blooming in itself. Okay, so kind of mixed a couple colors in each of those tiles, and then that gave a moment for some of my other little sketches to dry, so I can come back in with some other watercolor and not have it bleed in too much into everything else. A little splatter of color around, because why not practice your splatters too? Right? Just kind of keep reusing those colors. You see, I'm using my favorite rose gold there. And a couple of them, they really do pop. I know you can't see it on camera like I wish you could, but it really adds some nice shimmer. So if you don't have metallic watercolors, I highly recommend grabbing some. Okay, so once your watercolor is dry and you've kind of rubbed off your salt, grab your favorite pen. I'm using a Micron here. I know it won't bleed. And kind of just adding in some little details. Okay, I like to do a really loose outline around each square. You will see why I like to add shadow to that afterwards. So um, kind of adding a shadow around the box itself just gives a little bit more oomph to the whole sheet in itself. And so here you'll see I use Moon Glow. I've got it kind of mixed in. There are some magentas and different other colors in there. And I'm just going to pull that. My light source is the upper left hand corner. So my shadow is going to be the bottom and right side. All right. And see how I'm kind of just pulling that through. Now, sometimes the micron, if I get it before it's fully dried, it's gonna run a little bit. I like that. Yes, I did moon glow on moon glow for the shadow in that lower left box. But you'll see how this all comes together in the end. Um, it's just those final little touches. They just kind of add, like I said, just they help you focus in. You can play with your color tones here. See, I did do some complements, right? Your red and your green, your um, orange and blues, and your purples and your yellows. You mix those two colors together, opposite on the color wheel, and you are going to get some beautiful neutral tones that will give you beautiful shadow colors. Okay. So again, this is just a time to play. And then make notes on your tile sheet. You know, what did you like? What didn't you like? What, if you really love a blend, you know, a shadow color, make note of that with a pencil or with your pen. These are, you know, for us to experiment and play with. A lot is learned with time in our sketchbooks. I think many, many times we get so caught up in the finished product and wanting to make this perfect little, you know, piece, and we think everything has to be just just so. And you know what, we have to play, we have to experiment, we have to make mistakes in order to learn how to make that perfect piece. Every artist has sketchbooks full of mistakes and ideas, and this is really how you start your creative journey. It's how you take yourself to the next step. It takes you from copying, so to speak, to being able to just kind of play and discover your style. So I highly encourage you do this, and this can be done any week that you have a prompt that you're kind of feeling a little lost in. You know, don't be afraid to kind of just really experiment. You know, kind of playing. I played with different background colors. Um, Sometimes they're fine left white. It's kind of fun though to, you know, just add some tones into the background. Sometimes they're very, very subtle. And then grabbing my uh, white gel pen, and I think I write love, joy, hope. I don't really remember, peace. Kind of practice my handwriting, um, getting some just fine detail in there, playing with the backgrounds, just getting some scribbles over each piece. Again, just different ways to kind of add in. I'm a big dot fan, so we've got that in there. I know it's hard for you to see, but that's it. Have some fun with tile play.